Welcome back to the Twist and Knot Woodshop. This is another day and another project is underway. You've seen in the videos earlier about the table from nature, and this one is going to be another one of those, sort of, except not to that grand of a scale. Last night I kind of toyed with an idea of making an end table, and I made this little drawing here, and the stump, the top, and another log with, a burl or a knot, and then having a lamp incorporated into one solid unit. So in other words, the tabletop is fastened with a pin, dowel rod if you will, to the base, and then another smaller section on the what would be the off-hanging side, and then that would be pinned to there as well, and obviously the lampshade. And so I went to the my stash of logs and remnants from before, and here's another one of those slabs. Like I said, I had several of them. This one here, I got these logs from a guy that traded me some stuff during one of our yard sales, and there's quite a few more of them. This one here is not spalted like the other one was, but it still has some of the maple characteristics, sort of like the burl or the bird's eye type of a affair here, and other intricate little stuffs, the graying pattern, etc. And I kind of got it marked out here to what the cuts would be. And the idea would be to, not to waste the live edge here, so come off of the corner and kind of go in, and I kind of want to get rid of this chainsaw affair here. And then I don't want to eliminate this knot or burl, or knot actually, sticking out there, so I'm going to come in this general fashion. And it'll be about 22 to 24 inches deep. So in other words, this is over here is the couch or chair or whatever. And then again, same thing. You don't want to, or I don't want to lose this feature here coming off of the slab, and carry on around. And again, not to lose this guy. And the live edge on this is pretty. It's not as weird as the edge was on the long table, but it's still got some character, and I think it'll look very nice. And so getting back to the logs, I've got one sitting here, and this portion that I'm considering using is this burl right here, would be the part that supports the lamp, and cut it somewhere in here and somewhere in there, and then that would be the central feature of the lamp. And then over here, oh shucks, I forgot to turn the light on. Hang on a sec. Over here on this other bench is another one of these puppies, and this one's got all kinds of earmarks of being used in a multitude of things, but what interests me the most is this double top. Apparently this was the top of the tree at one point. You can see where it split off, and as it vertical growing up, it's just had a double top. What interests me the most about this particular piece is that I could cut it here and have a double supports. In other words, this would be the top of the table, or the top that supports the table, and then this down here would be the base that sits on the floor. And if you look at it from that angle, you can see how all of that all of these little ins and outs, and especially this right in here, and this too was in a fire. You can see the charcoal burnt there and there, pretty much everywhere. So I'm thinking that's what I'm going to do, and I'm just toying with trying to figure out how to cut it and get the dimensions and the lengths and such figured out right. And by the time I think about this enough, then we can get started on that. But the measurement from there to there is about 11 inches, thereabouts. And so I think it's going to look pretty darn nice. And the only thing I have to do is figure out how to, secure it to the top, and we'll go from there. And so we'll pick this up as we move along. Okay, we're back just a few moments later, and I didn't bother videoing, showing how to use the jigsaw. However, I'll show you the jigsaw. I've got a multitude of blades for this Bosch, which, by the way, if you don't have one of these, that's the only Bosch tool. I have several, but this one here is just outstanding. But anyway, this blade here is considerably longer than most, and it will allow me to cut a 3 and almost a ½ inch depth of cut. And as I described earlier, I didn't want to lose these features with the knots hanging out, and so I incorporated the angle of the knot to be, or the diameter of the knot to be in part of this circle cut there. And same thing on this end. And I've determined that since these two knots here are more looking better as far as features are concerned, to be the front. So this will be the there it is, marked front. And it's kind of sitting sort of flat. It's flat enough for what it's going to be for. It's going to be, not so much as a crude table, but it'll lead credence to the natural thing of it. And earlier I showed you this log that I was going to use for the lamp, the part that supports the lamp. However, on this other, daggone it, I forgot to turn the light off and forgot to turn it back on. Hang on. I showed you this other log earlier, and after I turned it over and I started making a initial mark here because remember I told you I wanted to have the twin feature here holding up the tabletop. And so I made a pencil mark, and then I measured, and I turned it over at the position you see it now, and I noticed that this side is a whole lot more interesting looking than the other side. So this is going to be the presentation, in other words, what you see if you're standing in front of the table. It's got a section in here that was burned, and then a little tit here that's kind of separated. I don't know if you can see it if I pull it over here. Yeah, it's kind of separated from the log here, and I would like to leave that. And of course we've got to clean out this cavity here and these other odds and ends. And so what I've decided to do, based on this, the 22 inches from here would take it to about here. So that gets cut off. And then I looked at the remnant of this leg, or top if you will, the part that would be cut off at this line. And this knot here is a whole lot more interesting looking from various aspects. There again, another charcoaled section. And this here would look a whole lot better holding up the lamp than that other one. So that's the executive decision I made, and that's what we're going to run with. And so now I'm trying to determine the procedure, a proper procedure for cutting these, so that I don't have to cut them or mill them out again with that contraption that I used on the other end table that you've probably seen in the earlier video of the natural table. So I'm going to try to make a cut so that it's intelligent and they're both square to one another. And I think by the time this leg post support will get on there, I think it's going to look very, very pretty with that space in there. So when I start to cut this, I will put that on video, and we'll pick it up in just a bit. All right, a few moments later, and I'm on the other workbench now. And what you're about to see here is something you definitely don't want to try at home, because I am a professional. Actually, this is more of a Rube Goldberg type of a device than anything else. What I established and determined was that it didn't matter the orientation of the log, because of what I'm about to show you. It will happen that it'll end up being square. But what I did was I kind of eyeballed it from this end, and then I went on the other end and eyeballed it back this way to determine what would look best between the presentation when it's sitting underneath of the top. And I determined that this is about the best. And then earlier I was showing you about how I was going to come up with a contraption to cut these square so that I don't have to monkey around with doing a build up with that little fabrication I did with that other table with the router to flatten it. So what I did was made a little harness here. The frame and square is presented to this contraption, and this front edge, the front edge here and that one back there, will register the saw, the handsaw, and that will get me down to the level, you know, to cut through. And to keep it from moving, I put these plumber straps on this end and on the other end, and so that'll keep it from moving so that it will maintain its squareness. And then after I get done with that, I'll just unscrew it from the tabletop, move it over here to this end, and cut this one. Unfortunately, I'm here by myself. I might be able to do this, you know, since it would be a little bit shorter, do it on the bandsaw, but since I'm by myself, I'll just handsaw it. It's not that big. It'll take a few moments, provided I have a sharp handsaw. Okay, and I'm not going to show you me handsawing that because I'm sure you've seen handsaws before. We'll see. Bye. All right, we're back, and I had to do a little bit of a change up here. It didn't work exactly according to my plan. I mean, it worked as far as holding it down and everything, but what happened was with the long part of the log over there, I started cutting it with the handsaw, and I got about a third of the way down, and it started binding at the top. So I picked up the trusty chainsaw and cut wild of, this would be the cut line, I cut wild of the line, leaving about that much sticking out, and finished it with the handsaw. So this end was already cut and clamped down, so now I'm going to take this off and we're going to stand it up and see how well it turned out. So stand by a second. Now remember, this end here is the bottom, and then the double top is going to be the surface that holds the top itself. And I think I got something underneath of there. So we take and put it, take and put it like that. This would be this is the surface that holds the top. And then, so in other words, it will extend out back past here. Right now it's a little bit tippy, but I think by the time it gets weighted down there, it'll be fine. And we're a little off. It can be fixed here easily. It's not too awful bad, about an eighth of an inch. So, and there, about the same, eighth of an inch and 16 inches. So that's not bad. Okay, well, I'll prune on it, and as you can see, the character that's going to be, this will be the display side, the front of the end table. The back doesn't have as much, I mean, it has character, but I don't think it has as much as this bulbous knot. Let me see if you see what I'm seeing. This bulbous knot down here, and then this little feature in there. So, yeah. we'll pick this up as we get to the next stage. All right, we're at a stage here where I'm gonna ponder what I've got going on and make any changes or whatever, but the logs are cut and I'm sitting here looking at it, and the top has been sanded down just a bit to get those the characteristics of the wood to come through a bit more. And the log down here is sized properly, and excuse me, what will be ultimately the lamp post, that has not been cut yet. It's more than likely it's going to flip upside down. I just stuck it up there just to get an idea. But we're going to go, and I'm going to let it sit there for a while I think about it and pick it up down the road a piece.